so this is it. This is our official first podcast ever, and we have a bunch of different subjects. We want to not all political, different affairs that are going on in the world, overseas and over here. And the biggest thing is we do our research. You know, it's all about knowing exactly what we're talking about and presenting the facts. You can take it how you want to. You can argue them. You can agree with them. That's entirely up to you. But, you know, our biggest thing is that if you're going to pick a side in an argument, you have to really know exactly what you're arguing about and not just, you know, agreeing with it because, you know, Sally down the street or someone on the internet said this is the way it is, and that's what you're going to believe.
That's a good point. I mean, that's the whole point the whole reason we went with perception theory is because people like to, well, everybody's perception is kind of a theory if you think about it, because everybody's perception isn't necessarily the truth.
Right.
It's how they see it. So that's why as doing the podcast, we decided we're going to look at something, especially like maybe in a headline where everybody's saying it's this, and we'll research it, and if it truly is that, that's what it is. But what do you go, 6 out of 10, maybe 7 times out of 10, it's not the truth. So we're just going to, you know, lay it out there. Now we do have some political bias. I lean to the right, heavily to the right, not to the alt-right. Not like Nazi and shit, but
right.
If anybody has a different opinion than what we do,
Bring it. Absolutely.
Bring it, and then we can discuss it. But I think where some people might get in trouble on here is if they're trying to dispute the facts that we've researched and came up with.
Right.
Then you're going to have to really swing for the fences, because that's, as Ed said, we're researching all this stuff. So
yeah, and I mean, please feel free to put your point out there. You know, we're going to do this as an audio podcast, and obviously also as a visual podcast. So for the visual, YouTube, you know, there's places where you can comment below anything. If you agree with it, if there's a subject that you would like for us to look into, anything. I mean, that's what this is about. There's no left side, right side. You know, this is it. You know, we're open, and that's the biggest thing, is that a lot of people today, they don't want to hear your argument or your point of view. It's like, this is what I believe. I don't care what you believe, and this is what I'm going to go with, and people can believe it or not. You know,
right? And the only thing we're doing is trying to delve into how did people come up with that? How did you come up with that belief, right? Now, if it's just because you're just a social media Overwatch, and that's where you're getting your information, well, then maybe you might want to discuss it with us, and you come up, and then we're like, man, that's not really what it is, you know.
Sure.
So Ed and I are not about the talking points of any political side. We're not the talking points of the media and saying this, that, and the other. We're digging down to say, is this right? Is this wrong? And just more than one resource or that we're using, or more than one source to verify this stuff. And again, you can come debate us on your perception or your opinion or your view on things, and we will accept, you know, that, and we can discuss it. But again, if you want to dispute facts, well, you can, but then, you know, you might get both barrels.
Right.
So.
All right. So where do we want to start? You want to start with any of the news items that happen to pop in this week?
I don't know. I guess with the news thing, real quick, is so you have Mayor Adams in New York, and he's really starting to lock down on the simple fact that there's too many immigrants coming in, right? And it's like, well, I understand, you know, you and what is it? The it just went Governor Holcomb.
Right.
Hochul is you guys were saying, hey, we're open for everybody. Not only are we open, that we're going to help you get services and stuff. And now they're seeing that all these immigrants, and when it was down in Texas, they were fine with it.
Right.
Right. Now, I understand. Now, we could sit there and talk that shit all day long and just say, well, you get what you deserve, which I do think they did. Now we're at to a point where now we need to really kind of come up with some comprehensive plan or idea to figure out how we fix. Now, granted, I would say Biden needs to lock down the border, but apparently he doesn't want to do that, and we just have more and more and more people coming in, and then.
Right. No, I agree. Looking at it when the previous president stepped out of office, if you noticed, it was January, I think, is when they started. They took off the lockdown that was on there, and then that's when this influx started to come in. And then you have the governor down in Texas that was like, hey, you know what? We got a problem here. And then just like you were saying, in New York, Maine, New Hampshire, there was a couple places that were like, you know what? We will help out in any way possible. Well, once the buses started coming in, that's when things changed, especially like with New York. If you remember, there was at one point in time where they were actually stopping the buses, arresting the drivers of the buses, impounding the buses for that reason. It wasn't Trailways or Greyhound or whoever they were using to get them up here.
Right.
They were just doing their job.
And I think just real quick, we can move real quick. My thing is, people, even like I'm a conservative, right? And on the conservative side of the house, if people seem to think, well, you don't care about anybody, you don't like anybody, you just want to, this, that, and the other. The point of the matter is like, especially down in like say Texas and Arizona, they were fine with their deal with it, and they were putting a serious strain on the resources, right? There's only so much money that they bring in that they have for resources for their actual citizens. And then when you're bringing tens of thousands of people in there, I mean, it's not like it's not like, oh, everybody gets it, all of a sudden you open up the floodgate and you get another $50 billion coming in. That's not the way it works.
Right. And
when you put all the, and it's putting a strain on the health services, because most of the people coming up, they need to screen them. They don't have any of the vaccinations, and they're putting them in the schools, and they're like, I mean, we're talking about stuff like tuberculosis. There were measles coming up at one time, and this and the other. So it's not like that we hate immigrants and this and the other. And we're talking about illegals, of course, but it's just the stuff like there's so much stuff going on. It's so multi-factors. I mean, we could do a whole show just on that.
Right. Right. Agreed. Agreed. Yeah. It's amazing. I guess my biggest question is, and there's a few people out there that have the same question, is the fact is, we're making all these moves for legitimate reasons as far as, the influx of the migrants and things like that. We're helping them to get a home and to be safe. What about the original homeless that we had here? How come this wasn't done prior to? It's kind of like they're pushed off to the side, and now we're gonna move mountains.
Even the veterans.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially the veterans. They go through, the wars and things like that, and then they come back, and it's like, there's just, I could never put myself in their position. I don't know what it's like to be in a war. Mm-hmm. Hopefully I will never know what it's like to be in a war. It's just the mental strains and the things that have been seen is just, I can't even imagine.
And to just have basically, I mean, I won't even go back to Vietnam where, soldiers come back getting spit on.
Right.
Even what we got today, it's like, I mean, if you look at the patriotism on the probably in normal society of the younger, they don't give a shit.
Right.
It's like it's not even a thing anymore. And but to have somebody volunteer to put their life on the line and have put their life on the line and have lost, significant use of limbs and brain damage and this and the other, and then we're just like, whatever.
Right. I used to work with a guy years ago that actually went overseas, and he was a tank driver. Well, when he came back over, it's like we don't have tanks over here to use like every single day. So what does he do? You know, what kind of occupation do you have at that point in time?
Now you think they would cross train to be, you know, like maybe be a truck driver or something to that effect. And I know that there are VA services, that do some cross training, but it's not even close to what we need as far as the funding to be able to get them, you know, some other kind of job.
Absolutely, and even adjust back into where they came from. You know, and I think that's why a lot of the homeless is what it is, because there's nothing other than thanks for doing your duty and go back home.
See you.
Yeah, and I that's a huge problem, big red flag.
It is a huge problem, and I think just real quick, another huge problem with the homeless is you do have homeless, or where we don't have enough resources in some places. Then there's some where you're battling, where, you know, the mental health issue or whatever it is, where there's a lot of homeless that don't want to go to shelters and stuff because there's rules.
Right.
And they just want to do what they want to do. And now that, when you get to the point where it's like that, I can't necessarily help you.
Right.
Right. Like I've done a lot of volunteering back in the day with like Frederick Rescue Mission where we live, and they have rules. You have to get up by a certain time.
Right.
Like you could, you know, if you want to get up at 7, get up at 7. You can sleep in, but I think you have to get up at like 8. I think might be the time, whatever it may be. But you get up, you make your bed, and you clean up, you tidy up your space, right? And then, you know, breakfast at a certain time, you know, between this time. But people don't want to. There's a lot of homeless that don't want to. They want to do whatever they want, whenever they want.
Right.
And I still have sympathy for them, but at the point, if you're not willing to do what you got to do to take advantage of the services, of the resources and stuff,
right?
What do you want me to do? Just throw you a pile of money and let you, you know, hit the liquor and just lay out on a steam grate or something? I mean, what do you want?
Sure.
At that point, what do you want?
Sure. Yeah. If you can't help, if I can't help you help yourself, then where do we go from that?
Where do we go? I'm just not going to give you handouts, you know, money and stuff, and just let you just do whatever you want, because then you're just going to start destroying yourself, and then that money's just, you know, if you're not finding a place to stay, and the whole thing, like Rescue Mission, is to stabilize them, the homeless, and try to get them back into society, you know, and with a job or whatever else. But there's a bunch of homeless out there that don't want a job, they don't want to deal with society in a sense.
Right.
So
no, it's a shame, but you know, we all make our decisions. We have to live with them. You know.
And that includes the homeless. I mean, to be honest, consequences are, you know, you make decisions.
Right. So. Right. No, you're absolutely right. So we have a few other things that we can look at. I know one of the things that we were kind of touching on a little bit was there were some visits that were paid somewhere on Thursday down south, Texas.
I think I've drawn
about 300 miles away from each other. One ex-president, one.
Oh, right, yeah. Okay, I was drawing a blank.
Sorry about that.
But it wasn't Biden on the way to the beach though?
He was headed somewhere. He was headed somewhere, and
I think Texas just happened to be in his way.
Exactly. Yeah, we're gonna hang out on the beach, and oh look, here's Texas. Yeah, it was pretty interesting. Yeah, you talk about two complete different outlooks, points of views. It just boggles my mind, you know. I think one of the things that get me is, I know in the world of stocks and things like that, there is a thing, it's called window dressing, and it happens at the end of every year. And what will happen is like all your 401ks and everything, you will see an uptick in that money. And it's just basically showing, you know, hey, here's what we did with your money all throughout the course of the year, and this is proof. And I kind of feel like that with the current administration is, oh, it's an election year. We gotta tighten ship, and hey, we gotta make things happen now. Unfortunately, this whole unraveling started with the current administration.
Yeah, I just want, we could talk all the crap and this, that, and the other. All I'm saying, because usually when people see kind of everybody in their natural habitat, is they want to see like a debate of the issues and to see how people answer the questions. Now the problem is Biden won't debate. Whether it's Trump, whether it's Nikki Haley, whether it's DeSantis, he will not debate anybody. And I don't know if they think they have the vote on lockdown for some reason, because I can tell you people are fed up with stuff. There's a channel called PragerU, which is like college, right? So so they go and interview some college kids. They even interview some like people on the street, right? So they went to like a black community, like in L.A., and and they were like, F Biden, F this. They're like, when Trump was in, we had money, things didn't cost as much. Even these neighborhoods, even low income, were talking about the crime, because now they're like in Oakland, you got Walmart rolled out. There's a couple grocery stores rolled out of Oakland. There's tons of business rolled out because of the crime. And so these communities are like, what the F?
Right.
And we didn't have this issue before. Yeah, we had some crime. I mean, don't get me wrong, but they're like, we didn't have this issue, and gas wasn't freaking almost $4 a gallon and stuff. Or in California, I think it was like $5 or something.
That's
like
insane.
That.
Yeah.
And when Trump left, it was like $1.85. I mean, see, that's my thing. People can like get upset about things, but you can't dispute facts. You can't sit there and say, well, no, when Trump was in, it was $4. No, it wasn't. It wasn't anywhere close.
Right.
And so a lot of people are just upset because prices are through the freaking roof.
Yep. And I guess that's another question too, especially talking about gas, is now we have this whole movement towards electric cars. So I guess the first question is what's going to happen with gas? I mean, you're pushing the gas price so high at this point in time. I don't have a desire to have an electric car or a hybrid for that matter.
Either. Nope.
But I mean, you're kind of pushing the consumer into this.
Well, they're trying, but it's But see, here's the problem with what they're not thinking. So you remember back in the day, everything that was supposedly either wrong or bad is where they made their money. Right. Now you figure back in the day. Now I used to be a smoker back in the day. Been smoking cigarettes. They taxed the shit out of cigarettes, and they got a lot of revenue from it. And then we talk about alcohol. They started, then when people stopped smoking, a lot of people stopped smoking. Then they went to the alcohol, right? And then, remember, gas back in the late 70s when they had the freaking long lines because
had to ration it out. Now they're talking about this stuff, but when they go to electric cars, they're not going to be able to just get rid of the gas. And apparently, we were discussing before, the safety measures of all the roads aren't gauged or are not prepared for the electric cars. The electric cars cost or weigh like twice or sometimes 3 times what a regular car does. So there was this big study about the guardrails can't handle electric car that's going at high speed. A lot of the infrastructure, the bridges, when you start getting all these, and they were talking about trucks. And they were saying trucks need at least, like if you're going to have a delivery truck, needs 2 sets of batteries, 8,000 pounds apiece. Ooh. So
16,000 pounds added on to the other weight of the truck and then what it's carrying. And then you're going to and then to charge that truck. So there was a guy that just, what do you call it? Testified in front of Congress. He didn't just do it. It's been a few months ago. But he says he has a lot of friends in the electric industry and stuff. And they said they were going to build a distribution center for the delivery trucks and have the delivery trucks be electric. So they went to the city. He didn't say what city because he didn't want to, throw them out there on the bus. But they asked them. They said, based on, we want to do 30 trucks, and based on this is how much we need of power. Well, the city they were in, the city municipality administration looked at them and was like, "Are you nuts? The whole city doesn't draw that much on a normal basis.
Wow.
And you want this one facility to draw more than the whole city.
That's insane.
To charge these trucks up.
Right.
What are you, nuts?
Right.
And I think it was something like, I think it's a kilowatt or something, but it was like 5 kilowatts for this this distribution center as opposed to 3.5 kilowatts for the whole city.
That's insane.
So, yeah, the electric cars do not make sense. And at the end of the day, you're charging the cars with what? Electricity. How you generate the electricity?
All right.
Is just...
Yeah, we can't, God forbid, use coal.
Yeah, coal, turbines. Now they're talking about the only way that we can even come close, to producing an amount of energy that they would need based on what they said would be nuclear power. And nobody, and then the environmentalists like no nuclear power. So it's like,
yeah,
what do you want to do?
Right, yeah.
Destroy a bunch of habitats, putting solar farms in.
Yeah, it was not well planned out at all. Yeah, because I think the other thing with that one too is I did see there was something about where one of the guys went up from Congress and they were talking about the same thing about the power.
Mm-hmm.
So, what happens, now you've got, 4 or 5 people on one street that have these chargeable cars. Well, what happens when you get 40, 50 people in that same grid? Then what's going to happen?
Because the grid is not built. It is not prepared to take that kind of power on.
Right. And I guess the other thing was pretty interesting. We have a friend of ours that we were talking about this issue with, and he's huge into cars. What happens when these batteries go bad?
They're expensive as shit.
Right, but where are they going to be put?
To dispose of them,
right,
is bad. And again, the largest manufacturer, I think it's like 80 to like, I think it's like maybe close to 90% of the market is coming from China. And they bought and own a bunch of resource, like mineral mines in Africa to get like the cobalt and the rest of the minerals and stuff. And they got slave labor going on. I mean, literally, there's more slaves now in Africa for these mines than there ever was in the U.S. During the slave trade. It's like, bruh, seriously? But everybody's just like, because everybody's on the take because they can sit there and invest in these Chinese companies. Solar panels. They don't have like 90, but they have a significant amount of the market.
That's crazy.
So it's just like, dude, now they're buying up all the farm.
Yeah.
The farmland.
Yeah. Sun Tzu in his book was, how to defeat your enemy. Well, you beat them from within.
Mm-hmm.
You take their money, you control their money, and there you go.
And they've been manipulating, the money in the markets, falsely for a while because the Chinese. See, the point of the people don't understand. The Chinese don't have a consumer. They don't have a middle class.
Right.
That's all us dumbasses.
Yep.
So China's like, okay, we're just gonna keep our people down here, and basically slave labor and this, that, and the other, and we're just gonna make all the money, and we don't have to worry about doing anything for a middle class because everybody in the other countries are a middle class.
Right.
We're communists, as in China's communists, but man, they are all about the almighty dollar.
Absolutely. And the thing of it is that we look at. I remember growing up, Ronald Reagan was the first president that I could remember personally, And it was pride to say that, you know what, this was made in America.
It was.
Now, the consumer wants everything cheaper. I'm not going to spend, $50 on a sweatshirt, but I'll spend $25. So, people aren't going to work for that over here.
Right, and what they also started to find out, or what they started. Well, let me just say something real quick about power and electricity, and a lot of these places started going to the wind turbines.
Right.
Placed out. I can't remember what the town is. It was kind of a big town, small city, in Texas. Went and got rid of everything, natural gas, propane, all that, and went to wind turbines. And I think it was 2 years ago. Was it 2 years? I think it was 2 years ago. There was a cold freeze went in there, and this is like the North Texas, froze up all those, froze them solid. They couldn't turn. Nobody had power.
Right.
And I was, let's just turn on the natural gas or something. They had whacked it all. They didn't. They were screwed for a couple weeks for them to do that.
Right.
And then you had New Jersey put a bunch of them on the coast. These wind turbines. Well, they're finding out. The environmentalists are finding out that the spinning is actually creating these vibrations and these different frequencies that's going into the water, and like they're having like all these whales beaching themselves because it's like screwing up their their sonar or whatever.
Gotcha. Oh my goodness. Wow.
So and of course they're killing birds left and right. The seabirds and everything else coming in on these winter. Now you have the environmentalists fighting the ecologists. I guess you call them ecologists.
Right.
So it's like no, you can't do that. So it's just like you said. People are making decisions based on knee-jerk reactions, and they can't see the forest for the trees.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. And, we can take a look at that. There was one thing, I know we're kind of bouncing all over the place here. There was a video that I watched, and it was on YouTube, and it was about the LGBTQ plus community, and it was in New York, as a matter of fact. They were having a march, and there were these two lesbians that I don't know where, it may have been a Starbucks or something, and there was a guy that was kind of doing the interviewing there. Mm-hmm. I can't remember who it was, but he said to him, I see that you guys are protesting, to free the Palestinians. And they were like, yeah, we believe in it. And they were like, well, why? Well, because of all the atrocities and things like that. Okay. So then this interviewer went in and was like, so you do understand how their perception is of what you stand for, the LGBTQ plus community. Now, well, the thing of it is if you went over to their country, the first thing would happen to you is you would be held against your will. You would have your arms strapped behind your back, and you would be walked out into into a communal area, and you would be stoned to death. And your lover or your significant other, however you want to look at it, your companion, will have that same fate. And if there's any thought of anyone else being involved in this, they will kill you. They will do it publicly, and they will kill you. And that kind of shut that argument down real quick, because people don't know.
What was their react? Like, did they say, "Oh, that's bullshit," or did they what was their?
We had no idea.
Okay, but then after that, or I guess you probably didn't stick with them to say whatever and follow them to say if they would stay with it.
Right.
I mean, from some because I've been overseas quite a few times. I was in the military, and then I was actually a operator for a paramilitary contractor, and I could tell you, homosexuality, they do not. It is against everything that I won't say they stand for, but anything to believe or whatever else. And that's one thing that blew my mind.
Right.
It's like we're free Palestine. They would kill you if they saw you. If you were in their country, they would kill you. I don't understand how you're aligning yourself with somebody that absolutely does not accept, but does not believe anything that you stand for.
Right. And that's the whole thing, especially the basis behind our podcast here, is that people just don't know. You have 2 or 3 of your friends out of 5 that say, hey, this is reality, and you're just going to go with it, not because of peer pressure, but, you don't know any better.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen, I didn't actually see it, but I've seen the aftermath where we've come into villages where it was either a Sunni in the village and the Shiites came in, or the Shiites were in the village and the Sunni came in, Muslims, slaughtered everybody. I'm talking about 8-year-old kids beheaded. I mean, so yeah, people need to realize like what really goes on over there and what the ideology is. And the simple fact that these, gay and lesbians, are standing with, Palestinians. Palestinians are Arab Muslims, and they believe in that, and the Quran talks about it. And the fact that you're like you said, I don't understand. And it's like, okay, if you really believe in all that, how about I'll buy the ticket and you fly over there and you stand with them in the street and in solidarity.
Right.
See how long that lasts.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I thought it was very interesting when their response was, oh, I didn't know that. It's a shame.
How do you not know that?
No.
I mean, do you just read the buzzwords on social media and it's like, yeah, free Palestine, Same with, we won't get into all that. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter did all that bullshit. They got close to, what was it? They got like close to $100 million.
And they went bankrupt.
And, oh, by the way, that was 2 lesbians.
Yep.
Black lesbians. And guess what? They bought a $6 million mansion, paid the one girl's brother almost $1 million for security service. He had no security company, whatever. All that money was gone. Not they didn't do any programs in the black communities. None of that shit.
Yep. And the sad part about it is not one person that marched, that held signs or anything for anything that the Black Lives Matter never got paid. Not one person other than the ownership of that never got paid. Not one red cent.
Nope.
And
see, the thing about it is like, if you say, I don't believe that, I don't think they should have done that, then you're saying that, then you think that George Floyd should have been killed, this and the other. And it's like, no, that's not what I'm saying. Now, George Floyd, in his own right, was a piece of shit.
Right.
All right. Let's be honest. Look at the man's record. Now, the problem is that the cops there did not follow protocol. The protocol was, you take them down, you get them cuffed, get them under control, and then you stand them up.
Right.
So, but now if you go read the coroner's report, he had all kinds of drugs in his system, and they're saying that it was quite possible, probably more so, that he died of asphyxiation and whatever because of the drugs.
Right.
That's debatable, whatever
Sure.
else. But the point of the matter is, this guy was a piece of shit. All right. Now, did he deserve to die the way he did? No. And I'm gonna say that to the day I die. But the simple fact that you took, and they were like honoring this guy like he was Martin Luther King Jr. I mean, doing statues of him and busts of, and I'm like, what, murals? I'm like, dude,
Right.
this guy was a piece of shit. And I understand that they were using him as a figurehead for what they were trying to protest, and even the whole thing with cops killing like black people. It's like maybe granted, it's like now how many of those are actually warranted or not? It's only a couple hundred a year.
Right.
Now some of those are definitely warranted. If you can see on YouTube now that they have like cop cams, they actually come on YouTube and they see some of this stuff. But they just, people are all or nothing, and that's
Right.
my big issue with people. They're all or nothing.
Right.
It's just like, well, that's not how life works.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a cause and effect for everything. And, Gary, I'll be honest with you. I think I'm going to put this out there. I'm sure people are going to have issues with it, but I think that we, the Generation Xers, I think we learned at an early age of the cause and effect.
Yeah.
Hey, I asked you to take the garbage out. You didn't. So guess what? You're stuck in the house for a couple days. And, I don't think that message was carried on.
No, that wasn't. I agree. And I guess part of the issue is whether or not that we raised our kids, maybe we felt that we were raised so harshly, maybe. I don't know. That we said, well, I want my kids' life to be better than mine. And maybe like I try to make sure my kids understand stuff like that. But I'm going to just say as a whole, maybe we were a little bit too lenient on how we raised our kids.
Yeah.
And so now they just, even little scumbags when we were kids had respect.
Absolutely.
For adults and certain things. Like you didn't cross through somebody's yard.
Right.
Right? So like stuff like now they're just like tearing shit up and this and that and disrespecting people and F you and this, and I've seen people get into fights for like no freaking reason at all.
Right.
I just don't know this country, and I have faith that this country will come around full circle and come back to where we actually start having. Now I don't see it on the horizon yet because it's getting bad. But I'm hoping, at least in my lifetime, that I'll see that come back around.
Right.
I'm hoping. But right now, it's just effing chaos.
Yeah.
And just.
Yeah. And for the record, I do not have any children. I don't know what it's like to be a parent. It's easy to sit back and be a Monday morning quarterback, which I am not. Some of the arguments that I have heard, the fact that, well, as far as cleaning and doing that stuff, I didn't like it when I was a kid. I'm not going to have my child do something that I didn't like. But, the thing of it is, yeah, it may have sucked. We sucked it up, but we learned something from it.
Yeah, I'm not down with that. I mean, like my kids have, chores and stuff that they have to do and this and the other. But if somebody just alleviates everything from a child, that I'm like, I'm not down. Then like you said, the child never learns anything.
Correct.
And then they come into that's what I say about the Gen Z or Gen Xers, is that when we got into high school, we got into college, or if we went to the military or trade school, whatever it was, when we were 18, I'm not saying we were the most mature people on the planet, but when we were 18, we could survive. We knew what the deal was in the world, and we knew how to do a lot of stuff. We could cook, clean, do laundry. We could do all that shit for ourselves. And so we knew what time it was, when we got there. I mean, and so now you get 18-year-olds coming out now. Man, these 18-year-olds are like 12 years old. They're just don't know anything. They're not aware of the world. I've never understood a civilization, a generation that has so much access to information and still don't know shit.
Right. No, that's a great point. I've never looked at it that way. It's funny because it's like, how did you guys survive without an internet? We did. We used our imagination.
Yeah, if you want to know where everybody was, like in, say, middle school and stuff, just find the yard with about 10, 12 bikes laying in the yard.
That's right.
That's where everybody was.
That's right.
Or in high school, there were certain places that you would go drive to and check to see if that's where they were. Now, we had phones back then, don't get me wrong,
right.
Like at the house, but you didn't want your family hearing you talk about that stuff. But every once in a while, you might, hit your boy up or whatever, your girlfriend, say, hey, meet me at the bridge.
Right.
Meet me at Mickey D's or whatever else. So you had like McDonald's parking lot, or we had some bridges we'd go under, these big bridges, and go in there and hang out, whatever it was.
Sure.
That's how you found out. And you drove around, and so that way, see, at that point, we actually cared enough about each other to actually go through some effort to either find out where you were, or to see you, or to go hang out with you.
Right. And, again, it wasn't all unicorns and rainbows when we were growing up. I lived in an area called Lansdowne, and our arch rivals, I still to this day cannot tell you why they were arch rivals, but it was Andover High School. I have no idea why. And, it's funny when you said McDonald's, we would always get into fights either in McDonald's parking lots or there was a Burger King parking lot. I mean, every Friday, Saturday night, you knew, you wanted to be where the action was. It's
going to go down.
Yeah, but nobody got killed.
But see, that's the thing. Back in the day, I'm old, so that's what it is. But when we grew up, shit could jump off, but it never got, when it got to a certain level, then everybody jumped in and said, okay,
yep,
we're done.
Right.
We're done. Right? It was never, or if you you jump somebody for no reason,
oh, it's on.
Then the rest of, like, if you're in your own high school and somebody gets jumped for no reason, just because you might have a problem with it, but they never really did anything to you.
Right.
People would police that shit up quick.
Absolutely.
They would just snatch your ass up in a heartbeat. There'd be like 4 or 5 people on you, like taking you off, saying, "Nah, we're not playing that shit."
Right.
Nowadays, it's like they take their phones out, just record it. Even if somebody's getting jumped by 3 or 4 people for no reason, they won't even.
No, it won't help or anything. But I'll record it.
I'll record it.
Yeah, I'll live stream this thing so you can see what really happened. Yeah, it's it's funny. I used to laugh at my grandparents, especially my grandfather, when he would be like, "Oh, you kids have no idea." But what are we doing here?
The kids have no idea.
That's right. So yeah, I apologize for kind of jumping around there, but these are the things just to give you a background of where we are, where we came from. It wasn't easy. We didn't grow up with silver spoons or gold bars in our bank.
Definitely not.
So yeah, just a complete thing. We're middle class. We're just like everybody else. We're not special. We're not special at all.
Well, we are kind of special, but
well,
I
am.
Not in that way.
I am. I'm special ed. Drove the short bus.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Chocolate milk. Graham crackers.
That's right. So